Oh, I can't see the clock anymore, but it was supposed to be another like 10 minutes or something. Yeah, I'm 5 minutes early or 6 minutes early. Do you want me to move that away from your feet? Okay. All right. So I'm out here a little early. And so nobody's here yet, but somebody will come. And so I'll talk a little bit because this gets reposted after a while. And, oh, my hair's crooked. Oh, well. Y'all get me the way I am, don't you? There's only so much I can do. Hi, whoever's joined me. Good morning. Oh, a couple of people. There you go. Good morning, Iris. So, as people come in, say good morning to each other, please. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe and all those things that everybody else says that, I feel weird about saying. Please also don't forget to use some uppercase Q's in front of your questions, but I'll be more than happy to answer questions for anybody. I'm actually sitting here with my friends and their puppies, and we'll be able to see a few things because I have a small battery attached to the phone right now. I think my hair's crooked, but whatever. Thank you. Hi, is that Kenneth? It's a little hard for me to read your comments this morning, not glasses wise, but glare wise. So I'm going to be probably touching the screen quite a bit, trying to read your comments. Live chat. Oh, and also if you're in the mood for, buying me a cup of coffee or doing something, there's super chats and there's super thanks on all my videos. So you can just hit those little hearts that have the $sign or whatever it is, and you'd be able to, donate something. I don't get it within days. I get it sometimes 2 months afterwards, but I get it. And so it is helpful. And that money has so far just gone back into fixing and doing things on my rig. So whatever, we do what we do. Let's see. So, oh, wonderful, Iris. It is a very sunny day. And I don't know that I've put my face in the right place. I'm not a photographer, and I just can't do all of that stuff. I've been talking with my friends about that whole thing. I can't run the camera, try to think about whether the lighting is perfect when it's not my thing, right? And do all the talking I do and be smart and wise. And so, y'all get what you get. But we always have fun on Sundays. And I'm glad y'all are here. So, again, welcome to Simply Live with SimplyLesa, and this is the 2022 Chevy Tracker Travels time still. That's the edition we're still in for the moment. I decided, because I did put a title on this one, I have decided, yes, and you guys go ahead and chat in the background. I have decided to focus on our friend David, who comes on Sundays. Sent me some private message. Well, they weren't that private. He sent me some comments on some of the old videos, asking me and our community about some issues he was having trying to van life in a car. See, I don't know what to call this. Some of us call it van living. It used to be called van dwelling. Then it's car living or SUV living. Tristan likes to use that. That's his website's name. So there's all the different names, right? I just think my car, whatever current car I have that's paid for, I'm going to use it for whatever I want to use it for. And so I'm just, Candy just said, live it tiny. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to do whatever I do because I want to have my life. So since I'm back in the States and walking and hiking is not really something that people love to see, they think you're homeless if you have a backpack, which is not true always. Then I decided to go for cars. So anyways, that's that little quick thing. So we're going to talk about Is your car big enough? And we're going to throw in there some some other comments uh, about not only is your car big enough, but like, what do you really need? And we're going to answer. I jotted on a napkin the other day when I read David's comments, the questions. So we're going to work with those questions first. And I'm going to try to set this down. I liked it when you could see some landscape behind me. Oh, hand in front of the camera. See, this is what you need photographers for. It's not my thing. Videographers, something, whatever. But you know what? We just keep doing. Oh, I forgot to silence my phone too. Can I do this and make it all silence? Okay, only vibrate. I don't know if you'll hear the vibration, whatever. But you can't really see any landscape behind me. But you can see this beautiful sweater that I borrowed from Candy's extra large closet. Because where I am in New Mexico, of course, at home they had snow again, but in Apache County. But in this part of New Mexico, it was freaking cold the last few days, and the wind was blowing like crazy. And so I borrowed a sweater. I would have gone to a thrift store and grabbed one and then donated it when I was done, when I didn't want to carry it anymore. Okay, so getting on to David's questions, which we'll work with that. And if somebody wants to look that up, I don't remember the video it's on, but if you were to look up, I don't even know his last name for you to be searching for that. But David said something to this effect. And David, if you're here, please clarify your questions, okay? And let's get into it if you're here. So he said he's been out west. I believe he's from Michigan right now. And he has a job in Michigan that helps him to be able to do his traveling for the moment. So he's already decided he's going back to Michigan to be to earn some more money and be stable for maybe the winter. I think that's what he referred to. What I jotted down, that he'd been out east. He'd been in Connecticut and Rhode Island and found them, in his opinion, to be not nomad friendly. Now, I will agree with him that the East Coast is less nomad friendly. But I lived in grew up in Maine. My first 20 years of my life was spent in southern Maine with relatives in Aroostook County, Maine, and Presque Isle. So we would make annual trips when I was young to visit family. And so I'm very familiar with East Coast. I've done Route 1 from Key West to Fort Kent twice. Not as a nomad, but just in my life, right? And I've lived in numerous places all up and down the East Coast. And so I'm speaking from a little bit of experience, though rusty, because I haven't been out there in a few years. I believe the last time I was out there was 2014 or 15. Yes. 2014 or 15. I understand that there's just so much more people on the East Coast. It's a different culture than once you get out to the West Coast in Arizona and these drier, more desert states. First off, there's a lot more public land, but there's also less people per acre. So it's a very different culture. And so you do need to take that account if you're going to go to the East Coast. But I think it would be wise to get onto some of the travel sites, and they don't have to be nomad sites. They don't have to be van dweller sites. They choose something that's an interest to you. It could be a bushcrafter site. It could be I like bushcrafting. It could be a craft site if you're a person who crochets all the time. But get on sites of some interest you have. Hey, David. And Fort Wayne, Indiana. There you go. So you've been moving around, but I would suggest that you get into some site where you can get contact with people who are currently living on the East Coast and find out about where they go to camp and where do they go for their lots of people, like in Pennsylvania, lots of people have hunt camps. It's a thing. It's where they go to go hunt for venison, for deer and venison. So make friends in areas where on forums and sites where you have an interest of some kind, not only your van or travel people, but get on some of the other travel sites. Get on things like I have an Overland Bound membership. It does cost money, but it's like $40 a year. Okay. And you get a brass emblem that you get to put on your car. And but you get hooked up with all other overland people who are involved in what they do. Now, overlanders tend to be people who like to live out of their vehicles, more like I always have. We want to be more in nature, and we want to be the ones who, like, some guys are rock crawlers. Lesa's not a rock crawler, okay? But I want to camp over there up that hill behind where all you van dwellers are. I don't want to be in the crowd of y'all. So I want a capable vehicle that will take me there. And then I want to be outside my vehicle more often, which is why when you see the old video interviews I did and everything, I know how to use the bathroom just outside my car if I have to, but I also know how to go dig a hole and poop in a hole, and those are good skills to know. So if I want to walk away from my car and sleep somewhere else, I need a tent for that thing. Anyways, it's a whole thing. So, okay. I'm seeing, Iris, thank you for helping talk to people in the meantime. I'll come back and look at what you guys are saying. And I saw David's there. So David he's out east, and he learned that it's not very nomad friendly. Yeah. You probably, especially in Connecticut and Rhode Island, because there's so many people and military and what else, there's a puppy barking in the background. Anyways, just in case you hear it. And you may have to, in those situations, actually spend the money to spend a night in a campground in some of those very populated areas. It's going to be harder to just pull over and sleep in the car, especially if you have a lot of stuff in your car, which we'll get to, David, okay? So David is using his paid-for Civic to travel in. We're going to talk about your Civic some more, David, and I'm going to need you to help me with that. I understand. First off, yay, it's paid for. Hallelujah. Second off, a Civic's pretty dependable. It might not be able to go on the same dirt roads that I can take my tracker on because the ground clearance isn't as high. You probably have to be a little careful when you go over a speed bump. But it gets 33 miles to the gallon. Yay! It's affordable. You got this. So now the next thing that he said that I made a note about was that you believe that your car is too small. And I'm going to challenge that as we talk. Is that really true, David? Let's talk about that. Because, David, I need to know, how tall are you? And then I need to know, when you measured inside your car with a ruler, did you do that? When you measured, did you measure diagonally from passenger side front to driver's side rear? What was that measurement? And did you measure from the glove box to the back? What was that measurement? And how do your seats fold? We're going to ask those questions in a little bit. So you also, David, as I recall, were talking about how did others find reliable cars? Well, some of us went through some stuff. You might not remember, David, but I started off in the current nomad community stuff with Van Tucket. It was an old van. It was a piece of junk. I sent $4,000 back for somebody help me to help me. Boondockers welcome. I just saw that quickly. Beautiful, beautiful thing. It's worth the money for that. I haven't used it in since it was free the first year. But the first year when it was free and I used it when I was back east, that was fabulous. I went to a an organic dairy farm. Of course, it was a regular old like dairy farm with a Pennsylvania Dutch gabled barn, cows and cats running around, and farm dogs, and whatever other animals, and a kitchen garden and all of that stuff. And they just had me park in the parking lot. And they were concerned about my bathroom issues, so I had to explain how I did the bathroom to them. But I'm telling you, Boondockers Welcome is worth it because you meet some of the nicest country people. You have to, well, I believe it's still this way. You have to negotiate with them how you're going to stay at their place. And so you negotiate how long you're going to be there, where you're going to stay, what they can handle. Because there are people in the world who, in those situations on farms and whatever, well, because there's two, Boondockers Welcome, and what's the other one is Harvest Host. I'm thinking Harvest Host, but they've merged now. But Boondockers Welcome, each household or place, you negotiate with the owner, and some people, wherever they are, they don't mind a Class A being in their yard, but they don't want a van, okay, because they think a van's too something. Okay, I'm not trying to project a judgment on them. But it is true that some people who would accept a Class A or a Class C and they have hookups for you in this more urban situation, they might not want somebody who lives in a car. And you can kind of understand. So you get to pick and choose, and then you meet people and you figure it out. I never became one of those hosts because I ran into problems when I was trying to do community get-togethers. So we'll go back to that. But that's a good idea. Yeah. Um, so David believes his car's too small. Oh, how you get reliable cars. So I've been through a lot of my old van. I sent $4,000 back for somebody to pick up a van from me that I had picked out a number of them on Craigslist, sent them the ads, asked them to go check them out and buy one of them, right? Instead, they had a significant other who chose to not be a nice person in the world. Karma will get them. Not my problem. God and karma will take care of that. But they chose to keep my money and do something else with it. They took $600 and bought me an old junk van that was sitting beside the road in their neighborhood and had broken windows and the engine didn't run. And so I had a lot of trouble with that van. And it was a very expensive. I could not afford fixing it. It was very problematic. And so that was hard. So if you know me, you know I've been through my Honda Passport, which it wasn't a Suzuki Rodeo underneath the label. That one, for some reason, I got a good one. That was a great vehicle. But I had to stop shifting when I thought I had a back issue. Now we know it's technically under my MS label, but whatever. And I was paralyzed and I couldn't shift. So the doctor said, I think you're going to have to switch cars. So then, or I wouldn't have got rid of that. That thing just, it wouldn't quit running, and it just was good. It was a good car. I wouldn't say just go for one of those. Not every car of every brand that's a good one is always a good one. Sometimes it's a bad one. So, but for reliable cars, I had to find reliable and affordable in my $900 a month budget, along with the fact that I still have to live. I've got to buy groceries. I got to do the upkeep on the car. I got to pay for insurance for the car. But you got to take a lot into account to find something reliable. And then I had the Ford Exploder, which in the end, the space in that thing was great. And I loved the V8 engine had power. And so in Colorado that year, that was fun on dirt roads. That was really fun. But it was only two-wheel drive. And um, I got, after having it for one season, I went back to my property and parked it. And I looked underneath and the oil was gushing out of it. And so I was told I had to have a new engine. So that's when Hawa gifted me, well, Hawa and I contracted for me to get the Dodge minivan. Well, that minivan, we all knew when I accepted it that it had a bad engine. That only lasted 4 months, and the lifters in the engine went bad. And I was able to sell it. I offered it back to Hawa. They didn't want it back. I was able to sell it and take all that money and invest it in another vehicle. So I got the Jeep Cherokee thinking that it was a step closer to getting a Wrangler because I've always wanted one. Well, that Cherokee always had problems, and I immediately spent a lot of money on it. Within 3 years, I had not only the amount of money I initially paid for it and had to spend to get it reliably running, then I had to put another $4,000 in it. In, I think it was 2 years I had that car. Spent 4 to 6,000 extra on top of that. So we're talking about $8,000 I had in that car. And then the transmission started slipping and the heater core went. And I was like, okay, so I'm done with that one. And then that's when I stopped. So hunting for reliable cars, then I started calling my mechanically minded friends. I picked 5, called them all, asked them to think about it, prepare a short list for me. And in about a week, I would call them back and I'd get their short list. And then we'd talk about it. And then I'd go away and I'd come back. And so we kept having these conversations and then I started hunting for the cars that across those 5 people, it looked like these were the most reliable. They thought I could afford. And I started hunting and I was like, wow, a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, any of them, they're trashed by the time I can afford them for, and even then it was going to be hard for me to find $4,000 to buy a car, four or 5,000. And so I started hunting, and $4,000 or $5,000 pickup trucks in my area, they're all trashed if they have 4-wheel drive. And so I was like, yeah, well, so they're off the list. I can't afford these things. So, and that's how I chose the Tracker. And if I was advising someone to buy a car now, and if they were like sisterly to me, I would say hunt for a newer, like a 2000, early 2000s Suzuki Sidekick or Geo or Chevy Tracker, but a 4-door if you can find one. Unless you're like me and you just always wanted a Wrangler, then get the ones that look like a Wrangler. But if you get the newer, like in the 99 and newer, right, then get a 4-door, 4-wheel drive. That's where I would send you, because repairs are inexpensive. I just think they're really good. Okay. So, okay, David, I just saw your last one about taking out seats. Yeah, Casey, there's a reason she did what she did. And I hear you. That's possible. That's her way of doing things. So, all right. So another thing I heard you say in your initial questions, David, were that you believe your only options are to take a nap at a rest area or to pay for a hotel. That's not true. Get the iOverlander app. It's free. Use iOverlander to find you places that are safe to go. Not everything. Make sure you're reading the most updated entries, because some things are from 3 years ago and it won't be true today. But if you read something where, the little reviews under the entries, you'll see where somebody was there this year. And so look for the ones in 2022. Was somebody there in October? Oh, okay. So how was their experience? And go by that. Use that. And don't forget the campgrounds and the Corps of Engineer campgrounds are not cheap, but they're wonderful. And sometimes you can volunteer to work a little bit and stay in some of these places. Don't forget, if you're religious, to go check with a church. Can you overnight in a church's parking lot? Often, if you're their faith, they'll let you overnight. But I'm not saying they all will, but I'm saying often if you're nice about it. But carry yourself as a traveler. Don't carry yourself as a homeless, poor. I saw some lady one time that had a minivan. She writes on the outside of her minivan with markers, and she has Bible verses, and it all says, help me, help me, help me. You do that to your vehicle, nobody wants you near them. So erase that stuff. Only do that advertising when you feel called to, but I'm not going to do that to my vehicle because I know how people see that. So carry yourself in a way that looks respectable so you get the result you're looking for. I think that's pretty important. So now, David, let's go back to, let me catch up with your updated things. Yes, you can always remove seats in a vehicle. But as some of you recall, when I was first in checking out the tracker, I chose not to remove the seats in my car. But that's because I use my car. I actually let other people ride with me. I like it when I come to visit my friends and I can say, let's go to the store. Let me move my bed to hop in. You can go with me. It's more fun. I need that because I'm alone a lot. So I chose not to remove my seats.
Except for the middle.
Well, my front seat. So I have one seat with a seatbelt somebody can sit in. I did not give away my back seat. If I change my mind about stuff, I could put my back seat back in. All right. Kenneth, you had 2 heart attacks. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kenneth. Oh, I hope you're feeling better. Okay, David in the Civic, Fort Wayne, Indiana today. Loved Riadocio. So I'm catching up with your guys' comments. Looks like you have a beautiful sunny day. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'm so glad, Iris, that you were not hurt by the tornadoes where you were. Thanks, Kenneth. Okay, and you guys can hear me, I guess. All right, so didn't get notification. Do you know what, Beth? I did not. You know how often I put out that little quick short thing? I didn't do that this morning because I got busy talking and making a coffee with my friends, and I was trying to do everything. I couldn't do everything, so I didn't get that done. I apologize, but you can always go back and see the beginning. So, David, let's help you some more. Pop up here. Help me out. Did you measure your car like I did? And you don't have to tell me all the stuff you're carrying, but what's in your car with you? Are you carrying too much stuff? Do you own more stuff than you actually everyday use? Do you have stuff that I might need it? Okay. I'm sorry, honey. I know you guys kind of, sometimes we depend on those things. So David, what do we, give me a little help so I can help you out. Tick, tick, tick. No. Okay, I'm picky. Y'all know that I'm doing lectin-free diet. So I'm a little picky with everything I do, and I had to learn to like Pellegrino. But I feel like I need the minerals, so I feel better when I drink one of these every day. So usually it's my afternoon, but no, I don't have a sponsorship from Pellegrino. So While I'm waiting for some updated questions from David. Oh, there's David. Removing seats is not something I want to do. I would like to trade up to a larger car and don't want to lose the trade in value. Whoops, I lost it. Go back to that. I have to push buttons to see you guys. Not something you want to do. You like to trade up and don't want to lose the value. I have everything I own. Okay. All right, fine. So, how tall are you? I think I asked him that. Yeah, how tall are you? I think downsize several times. Okay. Do you like 6'1"? That's not too tall. You could sleep in my car, okay, in my tracker. You could. But the way that I go at, some of you remember when I first got the tracker, I put some videos out where I was measuring inside. Well, now that I'm saying that, I filmed all those videos, but I can't remember if they actually got posted. But I filmed them because I measured diagonally, then I measured front to back, then I tried out. How do my seats fold? I hear you, David, wanting to upsize. Have you really thought this through enough that you know for sure you're not going to go any other way? Because I get it. When you're stuck in that mode and it's what you really have to do, will you be happy, David, with you're going to give up your gas mileage and your little go-getter, gas getter, rice burner, whatever you want to call it, you're going to give up the ability to park anywhere you want to park because you can hide in that car pretty easy. You can pull it behind a tree out in the woods and nobody even knows you're there. Do you really want to give those things up? That's another question we have for you. Have you, right, have you, because if you're really set on you want a bigger vehicle, you know your gas mileage is going to change and your ability to just jet in and out of little tight spaces is going to change. And are you willing to give that up? I think that's an important question. Have you considered external carriers on the car? Have you considered a hitch basket off the rear? Have you considered a roof cargo container or cargo basket? I know guys who have overland outfitted Civics. And I even know one guy, I don't remember his name right now. There's a guy on YouTube who I've met. He actually put larger tires on his Civic and put a lift kit on it so that he can take it like me on places where you need ground clearance, because he likes to go with his Jeep buddies out in the woods, seriously out in the woods. And so there are things you can do that way. Are you willing to do any of those things, David? Or is that not an option for you? Some of us don't like our vehicles to have anything on the outside at all. And it's not always about the theft factor. Did you know, David, that these are pricier, but it might be worth the investment if you want to keep the Civic. It could be worth the investment to have a trailer hitch put on the back and then use a hitch. Okay. I see your answer. So you're saying you were thinking about a Prius, which has room, and of course it's its own generator, right? And you have, I got to get you back, and or a small SUV. You used to have a Pilot and a CRV. Car struggles going up mountain roads. So okay, so the struggle in going up mountain roads is an issue, and yeah. So under those circumstances, I would recommend that you hunt for a small SUV. CRVs are great. They'll do all the stuff you're trying to do. But you could, troopers are older, and you got to make sure you get the right engine in one, but you can if you can afford a trooper, or if you're mechanically minded, you want to mess with something so that you can do some upgrades to some things. Your Civic can be made to have more power if you want to invest in the Civic, but that you're going to have to make that decision on your own there. But sounds like you kind of already made up your mind. A Pilot is a good size vehicle. That's about the size my Isuzu, my Honda Passport was. That's a good size. It really works. Um, don't forget that there are options. So I was telling you about the hitch spare tire carrier. So there's a newer. They're not the cheapest thing in the world. You're not going to pick this up used because they're too new an item. But for a trailer hitch, you can get a thing that holds your spare tire. Okay, put your spare tire here, and it's hinged so that you can hinge the spare tire out, and on the inside of the spare tire it has a drop down table for you to cook on, and you can access the back of the vehicle. There's that item as well that stays tight against your vehicle and is not a basket. But there's a lot of things now. And I saw what you said, David, that you're going to be able to go back to Minnesota and save some more money for an upgrade. Okay. So, yeah, I'm not in love with minivans, but that's okay. Those of you who have to or choose to do minivans, they can be fine, and you can make a good little home out of a minivan. Okay, I can't make this show me your chats again right now. So I'm glad you got one in decent shape. Good. And people, I agree with you. I forgot who that was with the minivan comment. I didn't see your name, but don't forget, put your money into mechanics. Don't put your money in the stuff you put inside. That's secondary. Make sure your engine runs wonderful. In my humble opinion, David, on the Priuses, I have seen people replace batteries in the Priuses, and they've had a lot of trouble with it. So I know, as expensive as a Prius is, and the fact that I would want to go down the bumpy road, I don't think I'd put the money in the Prius. Honestly, now that I have my tracker, if you were my sister, you were my brother. Let me make you a boy. If you were my brother, I would say, look for a sidekick. Look for one that's newer so it can go better highway speeds. And then I would tell you to consider the Rev REV6 by the company C6 tent, because it's a tent, a ground tent, a back of a pickup tent, or a rooftop tent, and it only weighs 25 pounds. What you have to place it on weighs more. So if you're a person who likes outdoors, that's a good way, and you can maneuver it. Even an older person in a minivan could drag that out of their vehicle to get it set up, if that's what you want to do. Astro vans were really good. It's hard to find one with low mileage these days, but if you can find one, go for it. I saw one on Marketplace when I was in Colorado 2 months ago-ish, that already had a pop top installed, and a kitchenette thing inside, and it was a professionally done one. And because they're all-wheel drive, they're pretty good. But it had 280,000 miles on it, and they wanted something like $10,000. And I was like, yeah, for that price, I can't justify that for anybody. So, yeah, if you can find a low mileage one, but of course now you got to watch. Don't get a vehicle that's just come from Florida, because the dealers are going to be shipping around all those flooded out vehicles from Florida. Don't forget those things, okay? Um, don't forget the hailstorm vehicles are going to have dents. Yes, if you know somebody that's got one, I used to know a guy, I can't think of his name either, that I met at Fortuna Pond years ago. He would replace the batteries in his. I know he would. And if that's the direction you're going, get advice from somebody who's already done it. Don't, like I've never done it, and I always wanted a Jeep Wrangler. Remember, that was my dream vehicle. So my going for a two-door tracker that looks Jeep like is a little more my personality and character than it is necessarily I had to have this for this. Sure, in a more practical sense, it might have been easier to deal with a four-door sidekick or tracker had I found, well, I did find one, but um, this one had lower miles and it fit me better. So the other thing is don't forget to try every version of how your seats fold to see what's possible to do, right? Because when I started to fold mine, I figured they're only going forward. I don't know how I'm sleeping in here, so what am I going to carry that I can deal with, right? And then when I moved them and they went backwards, I went, oops, all right, now I got something else to consider. So, and another thing, if you're in a really small car, check to see whether the seats from an old tracker will fit your car, because they do fold flat all the way backwards. And because of that, and I just was at a mechanic guy's house in Albuquerque. He has two wrecked trackers. The seats are in great shape, and they all four seats fold backwards. So if it would fit your car, that's another thing. You could swap out a seat.
Side note, that our friend's got a Nissan.
Oh, the Xterra.
It is great. He has no problems ever.
Yeah, and some of the Xterras are great. I've heard somebody else have one that was bad, but it's same thing with Explorers had issues, right? But they were cop cars once, so and they were O.J. Simpson's getaway car. So no, it was an Exploder. Yeah, just like mine, same year as mine with the whole white. Everybody knows you going down the road kind of thing. All right, so um, more settled rather than driving from Minnesota to Rhode Island to Arizona to Minnesota. I can limit my mileage by staying put for a week or two. Yes, that is what we tend to learn to do. Yes. Once we know who once we get over the initial, oh my God, I can do anything I want to do, and we go see things, or you go back home to visit where, do I want to see the relatives? Do I want to see where I grow up, where I grew up? How did it change? Then we start to go, okay, now this is my life. I can't eat cake all the time. I'm using that as an analogy. You stop playing around and spending hundreds of dollars in gas. You start to budget different, and you start to go, okay, now where am I going to be for the next 2 weeks? Because I want to only spend. Lesa has had $100 gas budget for years, so sometimes I'm only using $100 a month in gas. But now with this car and how small my gas mileage is, how or how good a gas mileage I get, I can go a long ways on that $100. But if I don't spend it, then I add it to next month's. So, but I could travel. Well, my gas tank goes what? Well, it costs less than $50 to fill my gas tank completely up, and I can go 300 plus miles on that gas tank. I fill the gas tank every half when it's down by when it gets to half, I always refill it. So, but say I was running it all the way out. So, say I'm going 360 miles, maybe. Let's say 360 miles. I could go a long ways. Maybe it costs 50. It doesn't cost $50 to fill it, but I can go 600 and some odd miles in a month and I still have gas left over. So, but I can, if I break it up and I do it, well, I'm going to move this far and stay for 2 weeks, or stay in that area for 2 weeks. It doesn't mean I got to stay in the same spot for 2 weeks, but I could if I wanted to. So maybe I just go closer to my friends, and then I camp over by the mountain for a couple of days, and then I come camp at their place for a couple of days. I've never done 14 days somewhere, and so the rangers can only get so mad at me because all it's been is they've seen you driving in town, but they didn't see you camp. So you haven't broken any rules. And maybe you spend one night at Walmart the day you get your groceries, right? I don't know.
Woods are getting harder to find to be able to stay in.
Well, it depends where you are, but you check the things and you be reasonable, right? And you don't pee on the ground in the Walmart parking lot, you know, or you don't go to a casino and stand, which I saw somebody do one time, and pull up to the guard shack, get out of the car, pull down your pants, and pee in front of the guy. That's just asking to get kicked out. So don't be stupid. Okay, no offense. That was judgmental. That was very judgmental. Well, but, and I don't want to be judgmental, but you know what? That was stupid. And so don't do that. Yes, I have stories. Yes, I've seen things. That's why y'all come visit with me on Sundays, right? All right, let's see. Yes, you can catch up. Is that, yeah, that's Bonnie. Well, Brooke. Hi, girl. I'll be down nearer you soon, a couple of weeks. I'm waiting on packages right now. And, you know, honestly, right now, I spent 6 months driving kind of in the Northwest. I did a lot of driving on dirt roads in Oregon, Idaho, a lot of roads in Idaho. And then I went through the corner of Wyoming and Montana. I touched it for like what, an hour? I don't know. I didn't stop, but enough so that, you know, I might have stopped at a gas station to use the bathroom, right? But and then down into Colorado, and I love Colorado too. I don't want to buy property and live there, but you know, I lived in Maine, so whatever. I know about I know about knee deep, or I know about 5 foot snowstorms. I don't need to do that. And an avalanche. I don't need to do that. So all right, let's see what else is up here. Um, David, am I helping you at all? What else can we do to help you right now? Maybe over time we'll be able to help even more as a community. But and don't forget, David, that you can email me personally. You can hunt for my email address, and you know I'll do what I can. I don't know how I can help you right now, but yeah, I think I'm saying it again, guys, Beth, whoever, put the money in the mechanics. Make sure mechanically your vehicle is sound. Find yourself a decent mechanic. If you don't know one and you're coming through Arizona, I know where to send you, okay? But I'm just saying, find the best mechanic you can, pay him, have your vehicle gone over with a fine tooth comb. When I got the tracker, y'all know I don't have money, okay? Some of you all helped me to get this vehicle in good mechanical shape, because the first thing I did is we went and bought it, and I had to pay a COVID price for mine. So I didn't pay $2,000 for it. All right, I'll tell you right up. I paid $4,500 for it. It cost me $500 for the food and gas for the trip to go get it. Then I left it with my mechanic for 2 months. And in that 2 months, he worked on it in between other jobs. And he replaced everything that needed replacing, nothing cosmetic. So it was hoses, spark plugs, you know, everything. He drained, not flushed. Drained all my fluids and refilled them, because don't do flushes on old vehicles. You push the fluids through, and it can Yeah, it can cause a problem. But anyways, that work cost $2,700. So my my vehicle, before I actually had it in my hands for me to work with it, right there's 44, 5, 6, 7 and 5 is 12, $7,500. 75, 7,800, something like that. You guys can do math quicker than I can, probably. But I never felt good at math. Anyways, but so that was a lot of money I put in this vehicle. Okay. And so um, that, but make your vehicle mechanically sound first. Just like I've said many, many times, if you get in a pinch while you're out, a church, a thrift store will give you a blanket or a winter coat to keep warm. They will help you get a bag of food. It might not be what you need to eat, but they won't let you starve, okay? You could find a soup kitchen. Somebody will buy you a hamburger, okay? You don't have to beg, but you could ask. And people will help you with those things, but they're not going to fix your car. So make sure your vehicle, which is your home, runs and works and does what it's supposed to do. And as long as you keep that mechanically sound, then the other stuff you can maneuver better. I hope that helps.
If possible, don't put the money in the car.
Well, yeah, if you need to. Yes, David. He's saying if you have to, sell the radio system to make the car run. Yeah, if you need to, absolutely. Know of antifreeze has an expiration. No, it doesn't really have an expiration date. No.
And if,
But make sure it's the right antifreeze for your car. I understand newer cars have different antifreeze.
and how you put it in for different weathers.
Yes, and make sure that, yeah, and make sure that the temperature you're putting it in, right, that it's don't put too much water in your antifreeze. Most antifreeze now you buy is pre-diluted. And if you're not mechanically sound, probably do that. The pre-mixed stuff. It's probably safer for you. So yeah. And then get other people's information besides mine. I see other people helping answer. Partial container I have is dated. Oh, it's going to be fine. Iris, that's going to be fine, I think. Um, have my email. Okay, suggestions are good. I appreciate them. Mechanically sound is important. I used to laugh at used car salesmen who tried to, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But seriously, all the stuff that you use to live, like I came here and I have warm clothes. Now, well, I finally bought myself a nice packable down coat, finally. And I spent a little money. I didn't spend $400. I only paid $60 for it. But so I have a warm coat. But when I wanted something to wear, I just asked my friend or go to a thrift store and buy a cheap sweater. And then when you leave the area and you don't need it anymore, get rid of it. Or in this case, I borrowed it from Candy, so she's getting it back. And she could do what she wants with it. But when she gets ready to travel again and she's downsizing again, I'm going to recommend that she does the same thing. If you don't need it, most of the places you go, don't carry that with you most of the time. But when you go there, so what? You spend $2 or $3. You're going to spend $2 or $3 on a cup of coffee these days. So go to a thrift store and buy a warmer shirt, and then when you're done with it, going back to warm, yeah, donate it somewhere. Really, you are not going to be without. I'm 64 years old now, people. And in all my experience, I have never been without a coffee mug. I could put coffee in this bottle if I wanted to. We did in Costa Rica. Okay. But there's no reason to worry about the everyday things. God's going to make sure you got what you need. So you're a little cold one night. Whoopee. You won't be cold every day. You'll figure it out. You'll find a different solution. Um, you'll,
if you're in your car and
but
you're going to be
if your car is your mode of transportation, make sure your tires are good. I refuse. I don't care who says it's okay. I refuse to drive on tires that have the steel belt sticking out of them. I don't care. I will sit still until I can afford a different tire. I will not drive on them. I've seen too much stuff. We're on the road too much. Don't risk your life. If you're a hiker and you're walking, spend money on shoes, right? Spend money on your backpack. It's what protects your gear and your home. But if you're in a car, spend the money on the vehicle that is your mode of transportation and keeps you rolling. Spend the money on the mechanics first, then spend the money on the gas. Over time, you can upgrade like I did. You know, when I first left that situation, when I first went out to the desert, after escaping a not nice situation where technically, do I use the word? Technically, I was held against my will in a garage for a month. Okay. When I left that situation, I didn't have jack shit. Ooh, wow, that didn't sound good. Ooh, okay, we have to delete that. I don't talk like that normally. I didn't have anything. I had my hiking gear that I had used for the last 7, 8 years in Costa Rica, okay, and hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And so I did not have appropriate everything. So I started going to food banks to get food. That was my grocery budget when I left that situation and first went to when I first went to Quartzsite the first time. My food budget was food pantry. That was it. I couldn't afford groceries. I'm saying if that's where you are, do that. But make sure your car runs because the food pantry and the people who run food banks and thrift stores, they're not going to fix your car and they're not going to put gas in it much. They used to have a traveler's fund in most each towns. It doesn't exist now. Post COVID, the world has changed. You can't get that the same. So don't depend on that. Know that if you have to, make your food budget the food bank. If you have to. I mean, you got to survive. If you have to, use thrift stores for your clothes. Now, I'm allergic to bed bugs. It puts me in the hospital. So if I buy stuff at a thrift store, unless I know the people, I take it straight to a laundromat, wash it, and put it through a dryer because I can't risk having bed bugs. I can't afford to get that sick again. That's hard. And it costs a lot to get them out of your vehicle. So don't do that. Right? I hope I'm helping you. But
and make sure you spend the money on a good sleeping bag, not that will roll up tight and space age.
the what?
Spend your money on a good sleeping bag.
Oh, well, yes. When you go to upgrade your, you might have starter things. You might have to leave home with a blanket and a $9 Walmart. I'm saying $9 because every year the sleeping bags, the $16 sleeping bags go on sale for $9 every year. So you might have the $9 sale sleeping bag, which is like a 50-degree nothing, and a blanket, and you have to make do when you first go. When you get ready to upgrade it, put a little sacrifice into using it longer than you need to save the money so that you can afford a lightweight, perhaps ultra lightweight hiker's backpack, sleeping bag that is a warmth rating that you need. I sleep colder than, like for example, Candy, my friend. Oh good Lord, she likes things cold, the air to be cold because her body produces a lot of heat. Different strokes, not me. I sleep cold, so I want warm blankets and I want my feet warm. So I'm gonna buy. In a situation where I might want a 0-degree sleeping bag, Candy might only want a 50 degrees sleeping bag. So you need to do that research to find out what your thing is, right? But if you have to start with the cheap stuff, then survive with it longer than you think you need to while you actually save money to upgrade. And you might need to the next sleeping bag when you have to replace it. You might need to do it in steps. You might need to replace it with a $50 sleeping bag. And then maybe in a year or two, you can upgrade it to a $300 sleeping bag. And then maybe you don't have to replace it for 10 or 15 years. That would be nice. That's the goal.
But it also is, warmth, but it also will fold up.
Right. And Candy's reminded me something I've told her many times, is don't forget that then as you upgrade to those lighter weight, easier to fold, then if you ever have to walk a long distance or you just choose to try walking a long distance, you can actually fold it so small that it'll fit in a small space in a small vehicle. Or if you wanted to put it in a backpack or needed to in a bug out bag situation, you could take that with you and have your comfort while you're, you know, whatever you got to do. Say the zombies are coming down the road, then you could put it in a backpack, stick it on your back, and you could walk. Hopefully, you could get away from them because nobody wants to see you get your head eaten off. Zombie movies. Okay, I haven't watched many zombie movies, but I kind of know how they work. So we don't want that. Not going there. So so okay, David, don't forget you can hit me up for more stuff. We've gone a good hour. Does anybody else have questions or leftover questions about what I've been kind of discussing? I hope that, let's see, I made the title of this. The title of this I made, Is Your Car Too Small? Well, measure, figure it out. Take all the stuff you're planning to put in the vehicle on a non-windy, as comfortable a day as you can maneuver. Put it on a tarp outside or on somebody's driveway outside or some safe place where you can do this. Put it all outside and then start with, I use this every single day. Has to go with me. Is there a place I could put it? Put it in the car and start shifting stuff around. And then look at your pile and go, okay, the car ran out of room for this stuff. Now, what's still important? And make decisions. I mean, sometimes you got to go that way. Teach her how to clearance shop between seasons. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that clearance shopping between seasons is the bomb. And that way you can actually get some new clothes where I run less risk of like the bed bug situation in my particular case. And, you know, it's kind of nice sometimes if you've been poor to have something that's new. It's nice.
But you also need to make sure that you're getting something like your new coat.
Yep.
Folds up, very small.
Yep.
It's very lightweight.
Right.
It's very warm. Versus my coat that is very bulky, heavy, and it doesn't fold up that much.
Right. And okay, so Candy's making a point. You guys can't see her. She's sitting over there. I'm putting my hand in front of y'all again. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to try to change the angle. Maybe I can show you Candy over there. She was trying to tell you guys about, yeah, she saw what I chose for a new coat. And yes, I spent money on my coat. Like I said, I paid around $60 for my coat. I don't think I've spent $60 on a coat. Maybe one other time in my life, I don't know. But she watched me. I had to make sure that this coat folds up small so that if I need, because my car is small, I want to be able to put what I need in the car. So it being able to fold up is really important in my life. She realizes her coat won't fold up.
No.
And so if she decided to be more mobile, she might change her mind too. I don't know. But she might not. She might have more space, but I don't know.
I mean, currently we're not traveling anymore, but we live in a school bus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how we started,
Oops.
was a school bus.
School
I
bus.
mean, I wanted to be able to stand up and have a good kitchen. So and a queen size bed because me and my husband
And dogs,
and
because they sleep with
we
it.
had two
You
dogs.
sleep with the
and now
dogs.
we
Right.
have three dogs.
Right.
So, but we are stationary at the moment.
Right. But as you start to think about things, and I get your processing, because your life changed and will change, and now you guys are starting to think about the future changes that are coming because we're all getting older.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
because
we
of
never
that,
wanted to be stationary. It
Right.
wasn't by choice. But,
Right. And now, depending on different visitors, then, ideas come through and you start to process it. I really want to be doing, I miss blah, blah, blah. Right. I mean, we all do that. That's how life is. So I hope you guys were able to hear some of that from Candy. So I just saw a clearance, something. I can't read it. I'm trying to read the comments again in Heaven Shiva. You can relate. Okay, Iris is saying she can relate. Clearance on summer clothes. Got excited. Yeah, I did that too, Brooke. About whoops. I did that too, Brooke, with my uh you know what? I may have started the live at the wrong time this morning, but we're here anyways. Because that was the alarm for me to start the live. But I think I had my time off with the change in what's it called?
Time change and
Yeah,
daylight savings.
daylight savings. I think I had my timing off. Anyway, what was I gonna? Oh, the summer clothes. Yes, I had a real bad habit of. I'd get so excited at the cheap summer clothes as I would be traveling toward Quartzsite, and then I'd get to Quartzsite and I'd go, "Oh crap! I spent $15 on cheap summer clothes, and it's cold down here, and I didn't have enough warm stuff." And I was like, "Well, so sometimes you adjust, and it's okay. Sometimes you can replace things." I work really hard because of my, extreme tiny space. And, if you guys still are calling me an extreme minimalist tendencies, I work really hard to make sure that my fabrics are athletic fabrics and athletic uh, clothes because of how they wick moisture away from you, how they wash easily, dry easily, and generally they pack up small, but generally they also hold up well. So I invest in layering pieces that are um, like leggings and uh, I sometimes have a couple of pairs of capris, although I'm probably gonna not do capris as much. Um, a couple of tank shirts that can go underneath a short sleeve shirt that can go underneath a long sleeve running shirt that can go underneath a something else, right? And that's the layering is alive and well in my world, and layering for my bedding as well. It's very important. So that you can be warm in a cold situation is the layering is how you get through winter. It's how you do it, whether you know that or not. So all right. I don't know. I'm thinking it's about time to kind of wrap this up.
But tell them hopefully today we'll be doing a live on how to make brownies in your new oven.
What?
Yeah,
On your channel? Well, he said you.
I'm gonna film it.
Oh. Oh, Candy just told me. Okay. I didn't know we were going to do this. Candy just told me that they're going to film me as I make my first batch of brownies in my cob oven. I was able to. Okay. So it's been a busy week. I didn't catch you up on my week. Let me catch you up on my week. But the first conversation is about my cob oven. I have been watching Marketplace and Craigslist for over a year for a cob oven. And at first I was like, well, I'm not sure I really want one because I haven't played with one and right, but I think it's what I want. And so this one guy had one in Albuquerque for $65 for I don't know. It's been a year I've seen the ad. So I contacted him. Albuquerque's about an hour away from where I am. And he still had it. It had been his wife's. She passed away, and they used it when they traveled. And I went picked it up this week. So I went to Albuquerque twice this week, and it was busy and driving in the city's a whole thing. And anyways, so I bought it, and so I wasn't prepared to show you this, but here we go. So there it is. It's orange,
And that's just part of it.
and it's just part of it, and that's my Kelly kettle beside it. That's just one part of it. And so Candy just told me that they're planning to film me, and that lid over there on that trash can and the bag, that all belongs to this cob oven. Anyway, they're going to film me while I make a batch of brownies. I finally found a lectin free brownie mix that I'm safe with. It has no sugar, it has no gluten, it does have eggs, um, but it is Birch Bender's brownie mix. I can't do their muffin mix, but I have never tried these brownies, but I saw them in the store and I went, ooh, I can have those. They have stevia and monk fruit for the sweetener. And so we bought one and we're going to try baking them in my cob oven this afternoon. I didn't know Candy was going to film it, but she can film it. So we'll get that out too. That should be fun. And I'm really loving this cob oven. I'm going to want to purchase the
New Kelly.
I love being lectin free. I'm going to want to purchase the Cobb
Kelly.
Cobb grill version of a Kelly kettle. That's their company makes it. It's stainless steel. It fits on the firebox of the Cobb oven. I'm going to want that because the Kelly kettle I have does not fit securely. I spilled water. It won't fit securely on the Cobb oven. So I mean on the firebox of the Cobb stove. And I knew it was an old hack that people used their Kelly kettles to make their charcoal burn faster and start faster. And so I tried it. But it's not going to work well for me. So I have a stainless steel Kelly kettle I'm not sure what I'm doing with yet. We'll revisit that at some point in time. But the Cobb oven, I am going to want to purchase their kettle because it fits theirs. And then, of course, it comes in a nice carry bag that's easy to put in the car. And so I'm making a place in the car for this because it's going to work. Anyways, I think I'm going to get going, guys. I'm getting tired. And it's been wonderful. Thank you for coming and visiting. Yeah, I think the whole the lectin free has worked for me. My gut, up until I had COVID, my gut buddies were pretty happy. Things were going well, but COVID has changed the way I feel about food, how it tastes, all that stuff. And so I guess I'm not quite all the way back to normal with that, but lectin free for me is the way to go. And so I think if you're willing, try it and see if it doesn't work for you too. So all right, guys, I am going to go. Y'all have a great week. Ciao from New Mexico. We'll see y'all soon. And yes, I am on my way to the Southwest. Yes, some of you will see me. Email me if you didn't get your question answered.
Before you leave, there'll be more videos.
Okay, so she's threatening to film more videos. So there'll be more videos out, I guess.